Praxis 5435 Exam Prep. The Ultimate General Science Content Review Preparation Quiz. Question 1. A student is studying the process of meiosis and understands that it produces gametes with half the number of chromosomes as the parent cell. The student asks the fundamental question: why is this reduction in chromosome number necessary for sexual reproduction? Which of the following explanations best answers this question? Is it? Option A. Meiosis ensures that offspring have the same number of chromosomes as their parents by having the chromosome number in gametes, so that when two gametes fuse during fertilization, the original diploid number characteristic of the species is restored. B. Meiosis is primarily important because it increases genetic diversity through the mechanisms of crossing over and independent assortment, which is why offspring resemble, but are not identical to their parents. C. Meiosis allows for the selective elimination of harmful mutations by creating gametes with different combinations of alleles, ensuring that only the healthiest combinations are passed on. Or D. Meiosis is necessary to produce haploid cells that can then undergo a series of rapid mitotic divisions to form a new multicellular organism. The correct answer is A. This question addresses the core purpose of meiosis in the context of sexual reproduction. The primary and most essential function of meiosis is to reduce the chromosome number by half, producing haploid gametes, sperm and egg. If gametes were diploid, the fusion of two diploid gametes during fertilization would result in a tetraploid zygote, and the chromosome number would double with every generation. By having the number, meiosis ensures that the fusion of two gametes restores the diploid number that is characteristic of the parent species. Option A correctly states this. Option B describes an important consequence of meiosis: genetic variation, but it is not the primary reason for the reduction division. Option C is not a primary function. Option D is not accurate. The restoration of the diploid number is the key concept. Remember, we can take your Praxis 5435 exam for you remotely and undetected with 150 score guaranteed. Message us via the number in the bio. Question 2. A student is examining a prepared slide of human blood under a microscope and observes red blood cells that appear swollen and some that have burst. The student knows that healthy red blood cells normally maintain a distinctive biconcave shape. Which of the following best explains what might have caused the cells to appear this way? Is it? Option A. The blood sample was mixed with a hypertonic solution, causing water to move out of the cells by osmosis, making them shrink and crenate. B. The blood sample was mixed with a hypotonic solution, causing water to move into the cells by osmosis, making them swell and eventually burst through hemolysis. C. The blood sample was mixed with an isotonic solution, which maintains normal cell shape, so the observed appearance must be a staining artifact. Or D. The blood sample was exposed to a high temperature, which denatured the proteins in the cell membrane and caused the cells to rupture. The correct answer is B. This question tests the understanding of osmosis and tonicity in a biological context. Osmosis is the net movement of water across a selectively permeable membrane from an area of lower solute concentration to an area of higher solute concentration. Red blood cells in an isotonic solution maintain their normal shape. In a hypertonic solution, higher solute concentration outside than inside, water moves out of the cells, causing them to shrink, a process called crenation. In a hypotonic solution, lower solute concentration outside, water moves into the cells, causing them to swell. If the influx is great enough, the cell membrane cannot withstand the pressure and the cell bursts, a process called hemolysis. The observation of swollen and burst cells is a classic sign of a hypotonic environment. Option A describes the effect of a hypertonic solution. Option B correctly describes the effect of a hypotonic solution. Option C is incorrect. Option D introduces a different mechanism, temperature, that would not cause the specific pattern of osmotic swelling. Question 3. A student is studying the classification of organisms and learns that scientists use a hierarchical system from domain down to species. The student is given 4 organisms: a house cat, Felis catus, a mountain lion, Felis concolor, a domestic dog, Canis familiaris, and a gray wolf, Canis lupus. Based on their genus names, which of the following statements about the evolutionary relationships among these organisms is correct? Is it? Option A. The house cat and mountain lion are more closely related to each other than either is to the dog or wolf, because they share the same genus Felis. B. The house cat and domestic dog are more closely related, because they are both common domesticated pets. C. The mountain lion and gray wolf are more closely related, because they are both wild animals that live in similar habitats. Or D. All 4 are equally related because they are all mammals and belong to the same class, Mammalia. The correct answer is A. This question tests the understanding of taxonomic classification and what the genus level indicates about relatedness. In biological classification, organisms that share the same genus are more closely related to each other than to organisms in different genera within the same family. This is because the genus represents a group of species that have descended from a relatively recent common ancestor. Felis catus and Felis concolor share the genus Felis, indicating a close evolutionary relationship. Option A correctly identifies this. Option B incorrectly groups by domestication status, which is not a taxonomic relationship. Option C incorrectly groups by habitat and lifestyle. Option D is incorrect because while they are all mammals, the genus level signifies a closer relationship within that broader class. Understanding taxonomy helps scientists communicate about evolutionary history and make predictions about shared characteristics. Question 4. A student is studying chemical reactions and learns about the law of conservation of mass. The student performs an experiment by burning a small piece of paper in an open ceramic dish. After the reaction, the student observes that the mass of the ash left behind is considerably less than the mass of the original paper. The student is confused because this seems to contradict the law of conservation of mass. Which of the following explanations best resolves this apparent contradiction? Is it? Option A. The law of conservation of mass applies only to reactions that occur in a completely closed system. In this open system, the gaseous products of combustion, such as carbon dioxide and water vapor, escaped into the air, so the mass was not truly lost, just not measured. The burning of paper is not a chemical reaction but a physical change, so the law of conservation of mass does not apply to it. The missing mass was converted entirely into energy during the combustion process, according to Einstein's famous equation, E equals mc squared. Or D. The student's balance must have been inaccurate or improperly calibrated, because mass is always conserved in all chemical and physical processes, with no exceptions. The correct answer is A. This question addresses a common point of confusion regarding conservation laws and the importance of defining the system. The law of conservation of mass states that mass is neither created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. However, this law holds true only if the system being considered is closed, meaning no matter can enter or leave. When paper burns, it reacts with oxygen from the air to produce gaseous products, primarily carbon dioxide and water vapor. In an open container, these gases escape into the atmosphere. If the experiment were conducted in a sealed container where all products were captured, the total mass of the container and its contents would remain constant. Option A correctly explains this. Option B is incorrect. Burning is a chemical reaction. Option C refers to nuclear reactions, not chemical combustion. Option D dismisses the observation without explanation. The apparent mass loss is due to the escape of gaseous products, not a violation of the law. Question 5. A student is studying the phases of the moon and observes that the moon appears to change its shape over the course of a month, from a thin crescent to a full circle and back again. The student asks for the correct scientific explanation for why we see these different phases from Earth. Which of the following best explains the cause of lunar phases? Is it? Option A. The Earth casts a shadow on the moon, and as the moon orbits the Earth, different portions of it pass through this shadow, causing the phases we see from Earth. The moon rotates on its own axis, and as it does so, it shows different faces to the Earth, making different parts of its surface appear lit or dark. The moon orbits the Earth, and the relative positions of the moon, Earth, and sun determine how much of the sunlit half of the moon we can see from our perspective on Earth. The moon itself is always half illuminated by the sun. Or D. Clouds and other atmospheric phenomena on Earth obscure different portions of the moon on different nights, giving the illusion of a changing shape. The correct answer is C. This question tests the fundamental understanding of lunar phases. The moon does not produce its own light. It shines by reflecting sunlight. Half of the moon is always illuminated by the sun, just as half of the Earth is always in daylight. As the moon orbits the Earth, the angle between the moon, Earth, and sun changes continuously. This changing angle means that from our perspective on Earth, we see different fractions of the sunlit half of the moon. When the moon is between the Earth and the sunlit side faces away from us, and we see a new moon. When the Earth is between the moon and the sun, the entire sunlit side faces us, and we see a full moon. Option A describes a lunar eclipse, which is a different phenomenon. Option B is incorrect. The moon is tidally locked, showing the same face to Earth. Option C correctly explains phases. Option D is incorrect. The geometry of the sun, Earth, and moon is the sole cause of the phases. How many did you score out of 5? Let us know in the comments below. Also, tell us which exam we should cover next. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more.